The film begins with 4 individuals laying on the ground, loaded with projectiles. We hear the voice of Andromich the Scythian/Andy, Charlize Theron, saying how tired she is of this. At some point prior, Andy meets with one of her accomplices, Booker, Matthias Schonitz, in Morocco. They join their different accomplices, Joe, Marwan Kanzari, and Nikki, Luca Marinelli. Them 4 are eternal professional killers who have lived for quite a long time. They are so committed to remaining secret that Andy should tactfully delete an image that a gathering of ladies took that she is seen in. They are set to meet with an ex-CIA usable, James Copley, Chiwetel Ejiofor, who requests that them get a local army libel for threatening local people with seizing and brutality. The group acknowledges the mission and traveled to South Sudan. As they gear up and enter the base, they rapidly acknowledge they were set up before the state army, being referred to ventures out to cut them generally down with shots, prompting the introduction scene. The 4 lay draining until their powers permit them to push the projectiles out and mend rapidly. The local army is shocked, however have a brief period to respond further, as the group begins killing them, with Andy using her hatchet against the mercs. They spot a camera and figure that Copley had positioned it to uncover their mystery. Andy annihilates the camera, and the 4 depart and make plans to stay together to track down Copley. In Afghanistan, a group of U.S. Marines head into a base to safeguard ladies who are being held hostage by a psychological militant pioneer. Niall Freeman, Kiki Lane, drives the group in, and one of the ladies guides her to the objective. Niall and her accomplices head in and take shots at the objective. She attempts to stop his draining to take him in alive, however he gets a blade and slices her throat. Niall's accomplice Tipsy, Natasha Karam, goes to keep an eye on her injury, as Niall seems to black out. As this occurs, the 4 professional killers experience a similar vision of Niall together, understanding that there is another like them that is out there. They take a different path and make a beeline for sees her. In the doctor tent, Niall's neck wound has totally mended, to the amazement of Woozy and different Marines. In London, Copley goes to a show from his boss, Merrick Harry Melling, who needs to have his organization, Merrick Drugs, possibly save a great many lives with their developments. Copley shows Merrick the recording of the professional killers after the mission, and keeping in mind that he is dazzled, Merrick needs hard actual evidence for his examinations. Niall is distanced by her colleagues after the episode, and she is informed she is to be shipped off Germany for additional tests, notwithstanding her protests. Before she is taken, Andy captures her and takes out different officers prior to taking Niall with her. On the drive, Niall attempts to get away, and Andy ventures out to shoot her in the head. Up until this point, Niall figured she could have been dreaming, however she presently understands that she truly can't pass on. They make it to an airbase where a pilot takes them to France. After Andy nods off, she tracks down that Niall attached her arm to the plane, and is attempting to drive her and the pilot at gunpoint to set down the plane. Andy shoots the pilot and orders Niall to free her so she can fly the plane, yet it ends up having recently been a stunt to get free, as the pilot was simply pretending to be dead. Andy curbs Niall and powers her to keep obliging their main goal. Andy and Niall show up at their safe house to meet different folks. Niall is determined what their group does and how their powers work, as well as the way that they have survived, and even been engaged with incalculable verifiable occasions. Andy makes sense of that they can ultimately bite the dust, yet they never knew when it could work out or why/how it does, as they lost an individual unfading hero hundreds of years sooner after his injuries won't ever recuperate. Around evening time, Niall awakens frightened subsequent to telling the folks she saw a dream of a lady caught in an iron casket, shouting and flailing wildly. Booker tells her that the lady was a previous accomplice of theirs, Quinn Van Veronica Go, what first of the Immortals Andy found. They were extraordinary companions and accomplices until they were caught and ceaselessly killed by individuals who thought they were brutal. Quinn was constrained into the iron final resting place and tossed into the ocean, where she stayed caught for a very long time, bound to keep suffocating without really any opportunity of departure, and Niall had the option to sympathize with every last bit of her aggravation. Later on, the hideaway is gone after by some mercs working for Merrick. Booker is debilitated with a projectile, and his injuries take more time to mend, while Joe and Nikki are caught. Andy discovers a portion of the men and kills them before she escapes with Niall and Booker. She is injured and observes that she is taking more time to mend. The mercs insult Joe and Nikki as they attempt to isolate them. At the point when one of them jokingly inquires as to whether Nikki is his sweetheart, he gives an ardent discourse about how Nikki is far more than that. They kiss before the thugs pull them separate. They are taken to Merrick, where Joe headbutts him. He fights back by attempting to see evidence of their interminability over and again cutting Joe. Merrick has Joe and Nikki taken to the lab while as yet requesting that different immortals be found. Andy, Niall, and Booker stop at an unwanted mine where a portion of their possessions are. Andy fears that they might be followed after she was injured by one of the men back at the refuge. As they plan their best course of action, Niall keeps on having inquiries concerning her freshly discovered predetermination. She is more hesitant to come after Booker says that he has previously outlasted his youngsters as a whole. Niall contemplates her own mom and sibling, and how they needed to grieve her dad when he was killed in real life. Andy goes to a close by the drugstore to have her injury tended to. Afterward, as they continue to carry on their main goal, Niall chooses to pull out and invest anything energy she has left with her family, and Andy lets her go. Nonetheless, Niall later finds a firearm cut in the storage compartment of the vehicle, acknowledging Booker deliberately gave Andy a vacant weapon. Andy and Booker track down Copley and move in to get him, yet Booker uncovers his partnership with Copley and shoots Andy toward the back. He legitimizes his disloyalty by saying that Merrick might have figured out how to end their interminability, so they can kick the bucket calmly. Booker then sees that Andy is as yet not mending however fast as she might have been. Merrick has his men take her and Booker to join Joe and Nikki, completely expecting to possibly kill them all, assuming it implies he has tracked down his leap forward. After Joe and Nikki learn about Booker's trickery, they turn on him too. Niall tracks down Copley and powers him to help her salvage the others, yet he is eager in the wake of seeing what sort of man Merrick truly is. Copley had been gathering data on the adventures and heroics that the Immortals have performed consistently. They come to Merrick's structure and kill his men prior to liberating the Immortals. Rather than leaving, Andy selects to stop Merrick without even a moment's pause to keep him from hurting them any further. In the wake of killing one more slew of soldiers of fortune, Merrick tracks down Andy and Niall. After he assaults them, Andy sticks her hatchet into his neck, and as he attempts to shoot her, Niall handles him through the window, and the two of them land on a vehicle. The Niall recuperates up while Merrick is a dead horrendous wreck. The group then leaves together, and Andy's injuries ultimately recuperate. Copley helps set up Niall's circumstance as being killed in real life, meaning her family should grieve her as they did her dad. In the meantime, different Immortals force Booker into a very long-term exile for his disloyalty, and he says goodbye to them. The others choose to keep working with Copley, as long as he can assist them with remaining stowed away. A half-year after the fact, Booker shakily gets back to his condo in Paris. He is welcomed by an extremely unforeseen guest, Quinn. Now I am going to give you the history behind this movie, The Old Guard. In March 2017, Skydance Media got the privilege to adjust the comic The Privileged Few, composed by Greg Rucka and delineated by Leandro Fernandez, into a film. Rucka's agreement specified that a significant scene featuring the sentiment between the characters Joe and Nikki from the comic book should likewise be in the film adaptation. In July 2018, they employed Gina Sovereign Bythewood to coordinate with Rucka, adjusting his comic book to the screenplay, and Skydance's David Ellison, Dana Goldberg, and Ware Granger delivering. With a financial plan of about $70 million, Rula Bythewood turned into the main person of color to coordinate a major spending plan comic book film. In Walk 2019, Netflix got overall freedoms to the film, and consented to back it with Skydance. Charlize Theron joined the film and furthermore created with Beth Kono, A.J. Diggs, Mark Evans, and Skydance's David Ellison, Dana Goldberg, and Ware Granger. Kiki Lane was affirmed to star in the film after Netflix got the privileges. In May 2019, Marwan Kanzari, Matthias Schonitz, and Luca Marinelli joined the cast of the film. In June 2019, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Harry Melling, and Veronica Ngo joined the cast of the film. At Ngo's solicitation, subtleties of her personality were transformed from the comic book. In a meeting, Rucker said, when Veronica was projected, she said, "I'm not Japanese, I'm Vietnamese." Director Gina Rula-Bythewood contacted me and said, "Might we at any point oblige that?" And I was like, totally. Noriko becomes Quinn. Quinn is presently Vietnamese. It truly was basically as straightforward as needing to respect that and be aware of that. The other change to the person was the person's demise. In the comic, Quinn/Noriko is washed over the edge during a tempest as opposed to purposely suffocated. As per Rucker, that was to some degree a strategic change to set aside cash. Yet Quinn's new passing, set by Rula-Bythewood's idea of the Iron Lady symbolism, served a significant account and apparent job too. The movie The Old Guard was delivered on July 10, 2020, on Netflix. It got commonly certain surveys from pundits, with acclaim for the activity arrangements and Thiron's presentation. A continuation is underway with Victoria Mahoney coordinating the film. Thanks for watching. Kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel for more content like this.